Hello everyone and welcome to Talking Class with Roland Ish. I'm Matt, and in this video I'm going to break down the 4 subclass options for the Fighter class in D&D's 5.5e or the 2024 Player's Handbook. If you haven't done so already, check out our Talking Class playlist. There you're going to find a video breaking down the features you get playing levels 1 through 20 for each class, in addition to a separate video that breaks down all their subclasses just like this one when you get to choose your subclass at level 3. You're interested in fighter subclasses, so let's dive right in. The fighter has 4 options: the Battle Master, the Champion, the Eldritch Knight, and the Psy Warrior. The first one we're going to look at is the Battle Master, and this one is for any fighter that is really interested in the finer details of combat. There are 2 pretty strong features you get right away at level 3 choosing this subclass. First is combat superiority. It's going to start out with 3 maneuvers of your choice from the maneuvers option, which is listed later in this section and in your player's handbook. You start out with 3, but you're going to learn 2 additional maneuvers at level 7, 2 more at level 10, 2 more at level 15. Each time you learn a new maneuver, you have the ability to swap out one of your previous maneuvers for a new one. The second thing you get here is superiority dice. These are an expendable feature. So when I mean expendable, I'm talking about like a barbarian has rages, or a bard has bardic inspiration, a monk has focus points. This kind of fighter has superiority dice, and they fuel extra benefits to your attacks. You start out with 4d8, and you're going to regain all expended uses after you finish a short or long rest. So don't feel the need to hold them and reserve them like a spellcaster would spell slots. Use them, because after a combat, you should be short resting. It only takes maybe an hour to talk to your teammates, recover from the fight, wipe the blood off yourselves or your weapons, regain your superiority die. Okay. But these also will grow at certain levels. For example, when you reach fighter level 7, you'll have 5 of those dice. When you reach fighter level 15, you'll have 6 of those superiority dice. Lastly, saving throws. So some of the maneuvers that you could choose may require your target to make a saving throw. When that happens, the DC or difficulty class, that's the number they need to roll to meet or beat your effect. They need to beat an 8 plus your strength or dex modifier, your choice. Remember, this goes back to character creation when you can choose strength or dex as your main ability, plus your proficiency bonus. So it's 3 things: 8 plus your strength or dex modifier plus your proficiency bonus. That total is the number your target has to meet or beat to avoid the effect you're about to put on it with your maneuver. Let's take a look at a few of the maneuver options so you get an understanding of what I'm talking about. I'm going to click this link and it'll take us right to them. There are so many options. If you have a digital player's handbook, you're going to see they are listed right at the end of this subclass. You'll see it in your table of contents. But there are several, and they are listed in alphabetical order. I'm not going to read through all of these, but I am going to read maybe 1 or 2 so you get the idea of the options you have for your maneuvers. For example, disarming attack. When you hit a creature with an attack roll, you can expend one of your superiority die, and you're going to roll it. You're going to add that number to the attack's damage roll, so you're getting extra damage out of this. In addition, the target must succeed on a strength saving throw or drop 1 object of your choice that it's holding, disarming it. So if they're holding a shield and a weapon, I would aim for the shield because it's going to drop their armor class by 2 points. And they're not going to be able to benefit from that or pick it up until the start of their turn. You could always disarm them for a weapon, or maybe they're holding some kind of relic or a map or something you need, right? Disarm them. Get an opportunity to take it away. That's just one of the maneuver options. There are several, as you can see. These also stack on top of weapon mastery. Don't forget that. So when you, as the fighter, are making an attack roll, roll your damage. Then institute your weapon mastery, whatever happens based on the weapon mastery of the weapon you just used. Then tack on your maneuver. You can do it this way with your DM because it says when you hit a creature with an attack roll. So you don't even have to claim your maneuver unless you hit. That's just one option. Here's another one: evasive footwork. As a bonus action, you can expend one superiority die and take the disengage action. This means you can move away from an enemy you're fighting and it won't provoke opportunity attacks. You also roll that die and add the number rolled to your AC until the start of your next turn. Remember, you have a D8. Imagine if you roll like a 6 or a 7 or an 8. What's your AC right now? Like 16? You roll an 8, it's going to be 24 until the start of your next turn. See what I mean? These are really great options. Read through them. At level 3, you get to choose 3 of those maneuvers. Okay. Also at level 3, you get Student of War. This means you're going to gain proficiency in one type of artisan tools of your choice. This means like jewelry maker or um, stonemason, something like that. You also gain proficiency in one skill of your choice from the skills available to fighters. So take a look at your skills. Are you lacking proficiency in something and you want it? Go get it. Okay, level 7, know your enemy. As a bonus action, you can discern certain strengths and weaknesses of a creature you can see within 30 feet of you. What it does is you know whether that creature has any immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities. And if the creature has any, you know what they are. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. You can also restore a use of this feature by expending one of your superiority die. No action required. That's a simple resource swap. At level 10, you get improved combat superiority. This means your superiority die, the D8, becomes a D10. So not only did you know that it grows at certain levels from like 4 to 5 and then 5 to 6, it goes from a D8 to a D10. At level 15, you get Relentless. Once per turn, when you use a maneuver, you can roll 1d8 and use the number rolled instead of spending a superiority die. Your die is now a d10, but if you take the risk of Relentless and roll a d8 instead, use the number rolled instead of expending a superiority die. So you can save it and not have it count by taking the risk and rolling the lower die. That's pretty cool. See, now you don't have to hold on to them and hoard them. Use them. At level 18, ultimate combat superiority. That's when that D10 becomes a D12. So you start out with a couple D8s, 4 D8s at level 3. They become D10s at level 10. They become D12s at 18. That's pretty darn good. The rest of this is going to list out your maneuvers. So we're going to move on to the champion. The champion is going to be for the type of fighter that has like a gladiatorial background or some kind of glorified fighter. Maybe you are known for dealing devastating blows, or you've slayed a famous creature, or led a heroic tale in combat, and you're famous for it now. That's what it's really for. The benefits of this are actually really cool. At level 3, you get 2 features. The first is improved critical. This means your attacks with weapons or unarmed strikes, you can score a critical hit on a 19 or a 20 on that D20 test roll. So everybody else has to roll a natural 20. You can roll natural 19s and natural 20s, and they count as the same thing. Also at level 3, you get Remarkable Athlete. You have advantage on initiative rolls. That's important. We want you towards the top of the order so you can beat things up. And athletics checks. In addition, immediately after you score a critical hit, you can move up to half your speed without provoking opportunity attacks. You're a champion. You're a legendary fighter at this point. Even at level 3, you're kind of well known and building on your legend. That's pretty good and things you should consider for your backstory when choosing this subclass. At level 7, you get additional fighting style. So remember, at character creation, every fighter chooses a fighter style, and sometimes you'll gain at later levels. You, as the champion, gain one at level 7, so you'll have 2 different fighting styles pretty early. That's a great one. At level 10, you get Heroic Warrior. During combat, you can give yourself Heroic Inspiration whenever you start your turn without it. Heroic Inspiration is advantage. That just said, at level 10, Heroic Warrior, you can give yourself advantage whenever you start your turn without it during combat. So why wouldn't you use that every single turn? All right, Matt, it's your turn. I'm going to use Heroic Warrior, give myself advantage. That's what I'm doing first on my turn every turn. Level 15, Superior Critical. Remember the natural 20 we all get? Okay, and you get natural 19s and natural 20s? Okay, this one at level 15 is you get natural 20s at 18, 19, or 20 on the die. Come on, that's brutal. At level 18, you get Survivor. There are two different features here. Um, it's basically you're attaining the pinnacle of resilience in battle. So something almost magical is happening here. First, defy death. You have advantage on death saving throws. Remember, if you are in the situation of rolling death saving throws, there are no modifiers. Any roll on the 20 that is 10 or higher is a success. A roll of 2 through 9 is a failure. A natural 1 is 2 failures. A natural 20, you stabilize with 0 hit points. Or some DMs will have you wake up with 1 hit point. This is saying you have advantage on those death saving throws. And moreover, when you roll an 18 or 20 on the death saving throw, you gain the benefit of rolling a 20 on it. You will immediately stabilize 18 through 20. That is much higher odds of you staying alive, very hard to kill you. So if you want to play a fighter and you know you're interested in a lot of combat, this is going to really be set up for you. Pretty awesome. Other than Defy Death, the other feature is Heroic Rally. At the start of your turns, you gain hit points equal to 5 plus your Constitution modifier. If you're bloodied, that means if you're at 50% of your total hit points or less, that means you're bloodied. If you're bloodied, Heroic Rally kicks in. You regain hit points 5 plus your Constitution modifier, just for healing, just for being in a tough situation. It's a Heroic Rally. Okay. If you are interested in being a fighter, but you're also curious about using a little magic, pick the Eldritch Knight because that's what you're going to be doing. At level 3, the first feature you gain is spell casting. Okay. As far as cantrips are concerned, cantrips are spells that you just know innately. You can do them at will, and they don't expend any kind of resource. You're going to choose 2 cantrips of your choice from the wizard spell list. If you're having trouble deciding some of those, the book recommends Ray of Frost and Shocking Grasp. Both are pretty good. When you regain a fighter level, you can replace one of those cantrips with something else from the wizard spell list, so you have the opportunity to swap at level ups. When you reach fighter level 10, you're going to gain another wizard cantrip of your choice, so you'll have a little bit more to use. Also, you're going to gain 2 first level spell slots, and basically you'll be able to prepare 3 spells. These are also going to come from the wizard spell list. You regain all expended spell slots when you finish a long rest. The table is actually going to break this down in a really comprehensible way, showing you at what fighter level how things grow. So at fighter level 3, you can prepare 3 spells, but you only have the opportunity to cast 2 of them because you only have 2 spell slots. And those spells are going to be of the first level in the wizard table. As you level up, like at fighter level 4, you can prepare another spell, so you have more options. And that's pretty much how it's going to be until you get to level 7, where you see you can prepare 5 spells now, and you have the ability of casting up to 4 first level spells, because you have 4 first level spell slots, and you'll also have 2 second level spell slots, and you'll have access to choose second level spells. That is how to read the table. At certain points, you may gain spell slots, you may gain additional leveled spells, like at level 13, you can cast 3rd level spells. At level 19, you can cast a 4th level spell. That's it, though. You're going to peak at 4th level spells. You shouldn't expect much more than that because you are not a full spellcaster. You are a fighter first who dabbles in a little bit of magic. You want anything more than that, you're playing the wrong class. Go play a spellcaster. But this is good enough, okay? Now, whenever you gain a fighter level, you can replace 1 spell on your list for another wizard spell for which you have spell slots. For example, you could at level ups, you could swap out one of your cantrips for a different one. Same thing. You can swap out one of your leveled spells for which you have spell slots. If you're unable to cast second level spells yet, you're not going to swap out for second level spells. That's what that means. You're going to choose spells for which you are able to cast. Your spellcasting ability is going to be intelligence. So, at character creation, if you know you want to go Eldritch Knight, it would be wise of you to put some consideration into your intelligence score because your intelligence modifier is going to help determine your spell attack bonus and your spell save difficulty class. So, I know you want to lean into strength or dex as you should. You might want to spend your second highest ability on maybe Constitution for your health. It's important. But maybe your second or third highest ability is intelligence for this reason. It says here you can use a spellcasting focus. That is something like a rod or a staff or a wand. It's where your magic comes from. Talk to your DM though. If you're playing a fighter and you're constantly going to wield weapons, I would allow your magic to come from your weapon. But one weapon, that sword or that great axe, not every weapon. So put it on something you're going to hold a lot more. Maybe your shield or an amulet, right? Think about that. At level 3, you also get something called War Bond. This is going to be a ritual that you can perform with your weapon. So the ritual will take you an hour to cast this spell. You can do it during a short rest, if that's what you want to do. Essentially, you need to have a weapon within your reach for the entire hour you are casting this ritual spell. When the spell is done, you touch that weapon and now you are bonded to it. Okay? Once you've bonded a weapon to yourself, you can't be disarmed of it unless you're incapacitated. If it's on the same plane as existence as you are, you can summon that weapon as a bonus action, causing it to teleport instantly to your hand. I'm going to give you a little bit of information that your DM probably doesn't want to tell you. Let's say you have this weapon and you sell it to a shop owner for something else, and you get in combat with that bonded weapon. See where I'm going with this? You can summon it to your hand, okay? That doesn't say you can't be slick or sneaky and do something despicable like that. You absolutely can. The point I'm making is to think outside the box. Does your group have a bastion? Do you have like your own keep and you keep some stuff there like weapons? And you're like, oh crap, I left my bonded weapon, back at the bastion. Summon. That's what it can do. Okay, that's pretty cool. The only time that this war bond is not going to work, it'll fail if a different fighter is bonded to the weapon you're trying to bond. Makes sense, right? You can only have one bond. Or this is a magic weapon that is attuned to somebody else. Now, that would have been really slick, right? To be able to go to an enemy or even a teammate's attuned item and steal it for yourself. That's not going to work that way. But it's pretty cool. So think about that and situations you may end up utilizing this. Now, you can have up to 2 bonded weapons, but you can only summon one of them at a time with that bonus action, okay? That bonus action to teleport it into your hand. You can't teleport both at the same time. You can only do one at a time. If you want to bond to a third weapon, you can do that, but you have to break the bond on one of the first 2. Okay. Level 7, you get War Magic. When you take the attack action on your turn, this is level 7 in your subclass. Remember, at level 5, you get extra attack. So when you take the attack action, you actually attack twice. Here at level 7 with War Magic, it is saying when you take the attack action, you can replace one of the attacks with a casting of one of your cantrips that has a casting time of an action. So cool, you can cantrip and then attack with a weapon if you want. That's pretty neat. It gives you options. At level 10, you gain Eldritch Strike. This means when you hit a creature with an attack using a weapon, the creature has disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes against a spell you cast before the end of your turn. So, what you could do with this feature is you attack and hit the creature with a weapon on maybe your first attack. You give that creature disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes against a spell you cast before the end of your next turn. We're still in your turn. Maybe that second attack is one of your maneuvers that require a saving throw. That would work here. Or maybe you hold it. Maybe you hold that for next turn because it says you can use it before the end of your next turn. Maybe you hold that. Or maybe you try and use it and you just miss. Okay? That's how you want to read that. End of your next turn is the important thing there. At level 15, you get Arcane Charge. When you use your action surge, you can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. You can teleport before or after the additional action of the action surge, right? So you take your turn, you use up your action, and now you're like, okay, I'm going to action surge, but before I do that, I'm going to teleport because I can do that with my arcane charge. Now I'm going to take my second attack action with the action surge. Maybe you're moving from one enemy to the next, or maybe you're moving to the other side of an enemy so you can flank if your DM is using flanking in combat. Just an example of how to use that. At level 18, you get improved War Magic. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace 2 of the attacks with the casting of one level 1 or level 2 spell that you have that has a casting time of an action. So by the time you get to level 18, I think you have extra attack to the point of attacking 4 total times. Like attack, extra attack, extra attack, extra attack. It's saying you can sacrifice 2 of those extra attacks for a level 1 or level 2 spell. So you can still attack and then cast a stronger spell. It's kind of like what you did with your war magic, replacing one of the attacks with a cantrip, but stronger, obviously. That's why it's called improved war magic. This is pretty good if you want to dabble into a little bit of fighting and spell casting. Lastly, you have the Psi Warrior. So if you want a good example of what a Psi Warrior is, think a Jedi or a Sith in Star Wars, the ability to move and manipulate things with your mind and use your mind to fuel power. For example, at level 3, you gain psionic power. This is going to be psionic energy dice. So when the Battle Master had superiority dice to roll and expend, the Psi Warrior has psionic energy dice that they can use and expend. Take a look at the table. So when you start at level 3, you get 4 D6s. That's your psionic energy die, and it grows. So at level 5, you get 6 now instead of 4, but they're D8s instead of D6s. And that'll last until level 9, when you get 8 uses of the energy die, and they grow to level a D8. This goes on, as you can see in your chart, to a max at level 17, where your dice is actually a D12, and you have 12 of those to use. Some of your powers are going to expend psionic energy die, and it'll say so in the description. You can't use a power if it requires you to use a die when all your die are expended. Obviously, you're out of them, so you can't use them when you're out. But you regain 1 of your expended psionic energy die when you finish a short rest. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Here are some of the moves that you can do. You start out um, with Protective Field. This means when you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use a reaction to expend a psionic energy die. You're going to roll it, and you're going to reduce the damage taken by the number you just rolled plus your intelligence modifier. Basically creates a momentary shield of telekinetic energy that protects. This is a motivation for you to put some serious consideration into your intelligence score, so that modifier will be strong. The second option you have is Psionic Strike. Once on each of your turns, immediately after you hit a target within 30 feet of you with an attack, and you deal damage to it with a weapon, you can expend 1 psionic energy die, roll it, and that amount you just rolled will deal force damage to the target, equal to the amount you just rolled plus your intelligence modifier. So, force is one of the damage types that are least resisted or immune. So, odds are you're going to hit pretty hard on most creatures. So, the fact that it's the die that you roll plus your intelligence modifier would want me to put more stock into my intelligence modifier. The next feature you get is called Telekinetic Movement. As a magic action, you can choose 1 target you can see within 30 feet of yourself. The target must be a loose object that is large or small, like a crate, a barrel, something like that, or 1 willing creature other than you. You can transport that target up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Alternatively, if the target is a tiny object, you can transport it right to your hand. Once you take this action, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest, unless you expend a psionic energy die to restore it. And that's a resource swap, so no action taken to swap a psionic energy die for use of this. Then you would expend the use of it to actually use it. At level 7, you get 2 more abilities through this. The first is the Psi-Powered Leap. As a bonus action, you gain a fly speed equal to twice your speed until the end of the current turn. This is going to be a massive leap or a jump, or it says fly because you're going to be able to jump far and high and not have to worry about fall damage. Once you take this bonus action, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest, unless you expend a psionic energy die to restore it. Again, resource swap, no action needed there. So because that's listed as a fly speed, that technically means on this massive jump on your descend, you're really flying. So you're floating down. That's why you're not going to take fall damage there. Telekinetic thrust is the other option. When you deal damage to a target with your psionic strike, you can force the target to make a strength saving throw. Remember, it's a d8 plus your intelligence modifier plus your proficiency bonus. On a failed save, you give that target the prone condition. You thrust them and they fall to the ground. Or you can transport it up to 10 feet horizontally in any direction. Horizontally means like on the ground, not vertically straight up in the air. You're not going to do that. But you can knock them prone or move them. So are they at the edge of a bridge or a roof? They're 10 feet from the edge. Push them off the edge. Level 10, Guarded Mind. You're going to get resistance to psychic damage. Also on the start of your turn, if you have Charmed or Frightened condition, you can expend a psionic energy die, no action required, and end every effect on yourself, giving you Charmed or Frightened or both. If you have both, it ends both. So, psychic damage, and it stops a mental condition. Excellent. Level 15, Bulwark of Force. You can shield yourself and others with telekinetic force. As a bonus action, you choose creatures, including yourself, within 30 feet of you, up to a number of creatures equal to your intelligence modifier. Each of the chosen creatures has half cover for 1 minute or until you go incapacitated. Half cover gives you a +2 bonus to your armor class and dexterity saving throws. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty great benefit. So the higher your intelligence modifier, the better. If your intelligence modifier is a +3, that means you can choose creatures, including yourself, up to 30 feet, 3 of them, maybe you and 2 others, or 3 other people, okay? It's going to match your intelligence modifier. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a psionic energy die to restore a use of it. Again, resource swap. Finally, at level 18, you get Telekinetic Master. You always have the telekinesis spell prepared. Put a pin in that. With this feature, you can cast it without a spell slot or components, and your spellcasting ability for it will utilize your intelligence. On each of your turns, while you maintain concentration on this spell, including as soon as you cast it, you can make 1 attack with a weapon as a bonus action, because this is going to take your action. Now, what is telekinesis? First, it's a 5th level spell. So right off the bat, the Eldritch Warriors are upset because at level 19 and 20, they only have 1 use of a 4th level spell. And here you are with a use of a 5th level spell that you can hang on to for a really long time. Here's what it does. It requires concentration for 10 minutes. That's why I said a really long time. The range is 60 feet. It takes up a magic action. Basically, you're exerting your will on a creature. You can affect the same target round after round or choose a new target at any time. As long as you're maintaining concentration, you can do that. There are 2 types of ways to use this spell. One is on a creature. You can try and move a huge or small creature, a huge or smaller creature. The target must succeed on a strength saving throw, or you move it up to 30 feet in any direction within the spell's range. It didn't specify horizontally this time, so I can move it 30 feet anywhere, including straight up in the air. Until the end of your next turn, the creature has the restrained condition. And if you lift it into the air and suspend it there, it stays. It falls at the end of your next turn unless you use this option on it again. Like, I'm going to keep my telekinesis on this target. It would have to repeat the save, and if it fails the save, it's sticking right where it's at. But let's say you're like, okay, well, I want to choose a different target now. What happens? What goes up must come down. 30 feet is 3d6 worth of fall damage. Not bad. Okay. That's a creature. If you use it on an object, you can try and move a huge or smaller object. If the object isn't being worn or carried, you automatically move up to 30 feet in any direction within your range. 60 feet. If the object is worn or carried by a creature, that creature must succeed on a strength saving throw to keep holding it. Otherwise, if they fail the saving throw, you pull the object away and move it up to 30 feet in any direction you want within the spell's range. So you want to take a sword out of a fighter's hand, push it up 30 feet in the air so they can't reach it, do it. Things like that. Maybe you have a big barrel of oil and you're suspending it 30 feet above an open flame. And now you want to negotiate something. First of all, roll intimidation. Anyway, this is it. You can exert fine control on objects with your telekinetic grip, such as manipulating a simple tool, opening a door or container, stowing or retrieving an item from an open container, or pouring the contents from a vial. Number one question DMs are going to get with that explanation is, can I use my telekinesis to manipulate thieves' tools? I would rule yes. If you're manipulating a simple tool or opening a door, opening a container, removing its lid, and retrieving something from it, or you're pouring contents into a vial, that requires a bit of dexterity on your part. Nobody's telling you to make a dex check. It happens. So if you're able to do that, you can manipulate thieves' tools, in my opinion. Go for it. That is how the telekinesis spell works. We bring this up because at level 18, you get access to that spell. Now, once you cast the spell with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a psionic energy die to restore your use of it. No action required, resource swap. That, my friends, is the Psi Warrior. Those are the Battle Master, Champion, and Eldritch Knight also. Those are the subclass options for Fighter. I would love to know in the comments what fighter you would choose. What subclass are you looking into? If you haven't done so already, check out our Talking Class playlist. Check out the other breakdowns of the classes and their subclasses that we do. Did you like the video yet? This one? Can you do that real quick? I'll wait. Go ahead, just click it. Just like, you're right here. Thanks. Have fun building your fighter, and we'll see you at the table.